We're going live.
There we go. Now we're live. You can carry on.
Carry on.
But yeah, like I said, I considered the Mohawk thing, but I'm like, everybody would do that. I want to do something nobody would do. Really screwed up haircut.
That was awesome.
Next time, Josh, honestly, go for the reverse friar tuck. Just
And I'm terrible because my attitude towards all of it, like, it's just hair. I have no vanity. Like, it's just going to grow back because that's exactly what it keeps doing.
It's true. Yeah, and if your hair is anything like mine, it grows so fast by the time you're like, who cares?
It does. I usually get it cut no less frequent than every 3 weeks.
Really?
And it had been a solid 6, 7.
I'm like that with my ball hair. Otherwise, it just gets totally unmanageable.
Yeah, the fro with the boys below. What's going on, guys?
If I hadn't found somebody to cut my hair, I was getting ready to just buzz it all off.
Laura's been like waiting for me to go into heavy sleep or something. I think she's got my clippers over there on her side of the bed, like, he's going to go to sleep.
I tried convincing Kimberly to do my eyebrows too, but
Do you like the hash marks, racing stripes?
not even, just full on cancer.
Just take them right off.
You should not say full on cancer for anything. That's like bad juju.
I know. Well, you know.
You can always draw them back on.
No, let me do it because I will have a fucking like.
I tried giving them the option to see if they had some skills to, work out a fade, and they were just like, "No, I was just going to cut it all one length." I'm like, "Well, I don't need you guys to do that."
Yeah, right.
It just,
Oh God, that's funny.
Yeah, I got the capture. Has anybody typed anything?
Yeah, they're typing all kinds of stuff.
Oh, I'm not seeing anything on my chat here.
Yeah, I guess without you being in the full-fledged studio, you wouldn't see it. So RC Crazy's in here and Max Air 420.
Huh.
And then we got an obligatory Chuck shaved his beard. We got an obligatory I don't know T-Bone. T-Bone was a staple around here for a long time. And then he started having to actually work around the clock.
Fuckers.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So I am super excited. Like, I had no idea how well this was going to fit. And like I told you, Joe, there's a few places where I want to beef it up a little just to stop just to reinforce some areas. But everything about this is perfect, and it fits on that top plate perfectly. Chuck had an idea. He said, I really hate trying to slide this camera in and out of the side. He said it's a real pain. And in order to make that work, there's actually a slit that's designed in the front here when this is a one piece like this, so that you can pry this side up to push the camera out. And Chuck's like, man, it'd be so nice if it just slid in and out. Well, this thing, it has no play side to side, no play front to back, so it fits perfectly. And then this sandwich is on here, and then the strap, goes through a little slot all the way through. And man, when you just Velcro that thing down, she just sits on there so nice. That thing will never come off.
I like the strap because it actually covers that little screen there. It gives you a little extra protection.
A little bit. For me, it wasn't that. It was two things. One, because this case is two pieces, it's keeping the top on, but it's also securing the camera to the base as well. Yeah. But I know you really can't see it probably, but there is a slot in here for
yeah, he said slot.
Yeah. For an ND filter, but the wall over here is just way too thin, so it didn't stand up.
Something you could tweak in the next design for your print.
Oh, I will. I'll be getting to it in the next day or so, because I want to do that. And then we also put together a couple session mounts. And really, the only difference is one sits a little lower to the frame.
Now, is that 100% infill? John?
Yes.
So
And this
feels
one,
pretty
as you can see, the camera slid forward a little bit and sits a little higher, so it's just trying to get some of the props out of the shot.
Yep.
And it's got a recess for an ND filter, so it doesn't fit all super tight like the crap you buy from Brain 3D.
Uh-huh.
Was that the one we modified the edges to get out the I don't remember if that was the one.
Like some of the holes loose.
Yeah.
That was this one.
Yeah.
Which is a play on a similar design. I mean, it's got a slot for an ND filter back there. It's just that the front is a little bit more obtrusive. But it looked good. It looked good in the camera today. So
that was also the one we put the tool hole through, right?
Yep, this one has some screwdriver holes in the front because you can see it kind of overlaps. And so there you go.
So your Allen key
there. And in these ones, I did something similar for the back. But what I need to do is make them a little bigger so the screwdriver easily fits in and out.
Yeah.
Because they're a little tight, but
don't forget to spin on it before you put it in. It always helps.
But yeah, man, other than that, perfect.
He thought you thought I was joking with the standoff ones that I made. I'm like, dude, you're gonna want to get these wet or lube them before you put them. He's like, nah, they'll be all right. Oh shit, they ain't coming off.
I still haven't been able to get them off.
You're gonna have
and I've like pried them. I'm afraid I'm gonna break the damn plate pulling on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those TPU holes, no extra room for error there.
Yeah. But no, so now, I always hesitated on the 3D printing front because personally, one of my pet peeves has always been, finding something that's 95% what you want, but it's got these little annoyances. Well, I watched Joe for about 20 minutes, which filled in like all kinds of gaps about like how to handle certain situations and all. Man, I can hop in there and do anything now. So now it's about keeping an eye out for a good deal on a printer.
Little tips make all that process just so much easier to draw your own.
Yeah, I mean, I totally see why you don't even start with anything like from Thingiverse and you just like build it because it's so easy.
Yeah.
Well, once you wrap your head around some of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, man, the more I look at these, Joe's layer adhesion and how smooth everything comes out are just phenomenal.
Don't lie, how many dud photos I'm like, nope, that's shit. Nope, that's shit.
I know, but I mean, once you get it dialed in, like it looks so good. And the only area that still needs, like, if you're just nitpicking, right, it doesn't affect the structural integrity at all, is where the overhangs are. Like these, I can tell that you printed on their side.
Right.
And these overhangs, they're a little rough looking, but they're 100% solid. Like there's nothing compromised there.
Yeah, there's no DLAM there at all. It's just a matter of, and I that still even bugs me to this day. I even was like, I'll send it to him anyway. If he's fine with it, it's okay. But I'm
fine with it.
I'd sit there and be like, no, not doing that. No, not doing that. So, but.
Well, I did a little research on that, and the answer that is in every single video is a fan.
Yeah, and actually the ones for the blue, the 8+ mounts, that was with the new cooling system, and it still has a little bit of it in there. So I think it's actually probably my top and bottom layer margins. I got top layer margins or support margins I got to fix or something like that. So
gotcha. Well, a lot of the guys are just putting like an external fan, next to it, just blowing across.
What were you saying, Eric?
I said, now is that mount, Josh? Is that going to be able to do the 7 and the 8?
Well, I don't know because I don't have a 7. Yeah. So I made it for the 8.
Yeah. That'd be nice if you could fit the 7 in there too.
I know their sizes are different. I think the 7 is smaller, but see, its lens area has different dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I have an even older standard normal GoPro, and I was like, yeah, this ain't even gonna come touch it. So I was like, nope, not for mine. So
yeah, the original GoPros definitely not.
Yeah,
they were wildly different. But see, the only reason this would even have a chance, and I do have another one here if you want to try it. I'll show you something about it in a minute. But because of the way this comes apart, I mean, there is a chance that you can make it fit. It may not be 100%, but as long as it's most of the way there.
That looks way
because the 8 is bigger than
and slide it in from the side, because the difference in size between that lens when you go to push it in, even with a slit in there, it's a huge pain in the rear end.
Gotcha. This one is the first one that came out really successful that Joe sent to me. And as you can see, it's got a little bow in her. Got one running across the back too.
Yeah, because the adhesion didn't stick to the base plate, so it started to peel up as it continued the layer. So,
yep,
that's when I changed. I'm like, nope.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm not happy with that. I'm like, well, you can send it anyway. I mean, I'll use it. The funny thing is, you put the camera in it, put a strap around it, and it just doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. Still don't like it.
So,
well,
Echo.
Meticulous, then that's what you get. You end up, being so much of a critique on your own work that other people will find it flawless, and you'll still be picking things apart.
Yeah, there's always a fine line when you're just like, all right, are you good with it? Because if you're good with it, great. Otherwise, you'll sit there and just nitpick it, and you'll never get a product out. Trust me, Josh.
That's how I am with editing.
Yeah. Josh and I have had experiences with entire companies that work that way, that they've got a great product, but they just pick it to death and it never, ever goes to market because of it.
Yeah. Well, see, and me, I'm the kind of person, I'll sit there and nitpick it and talk about, especially now that I have the power to make the changes, Mm-hmm. I'll sit here and nitpick it to death and make little fine-tuning adjustments, but it won't stop me from using what I have either. Mm-hmm. That's just that. It's that strive for perfection. Mm-hmm. I'm that way with my programming. I can make something that just does what it needs to do, but I want to make it elegant too.
Sexy.
Yeah. So yeah, Echo B, we were talking about some of this because I don't have a 3D printer, but in this hobby, 3D printing is a big thing. It's something that a lot of us use, if for nothing more, camera and arm protection, and a few of us are running alien 4-inch bodies with 5-inch arms. And there's definitely a lack of GoPro mounts that have the proper hole spacing and base size to fit that. So I, with Joe's help, got into Tinkercad. Now, Joe is an engineer. So this guy, SolidWorks and all that other stuff, he just gets in, and to him, it's like a Lego box. Me, I've never done anything like that before. So I had to kind of wrap my head around what it was I was trying to do. So Joe gave me a big help a few times. And what we were able to do was get myself to a place where, with a set of calipers, I could just start designing things that fit what we need. So working through some of that, the one thing I don't have now is a 3D printer. So I can't test my stuff. I can tell you that on paper it should be right, but I can't tell you practically how well it worked out. So Joe did a favor and printed me a whole bunch of stuff and sent it to me this week. So I just got it today and got all excited. And we were just talking about some of the things surrounding that.
Surprisingly quickly, too, because snail mail did not just, I was like, oh, this is going to be like Thursday, Friday before he gets it. And then he's like, hey, I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, it's awesome.
3D printing is just a whole completely another hobby. So for me, because I know people that 3D print, it's just so nice to just be like, hey, I need this. Or, hey, print me this. And it's just like, yeah, I'll pay you for it. No problem. But it's like, you when you have the option to have somebody do it for you and you don't want to take up another hobby. That's why I haven't really got into it, because I'm just like, well, I have other people that will print for me. So
yeah, that's the bad thing about it. It's like anything else. You start getting into it and you're like, ooh, I'm going to buy a new hot end. Ooh, I'm going to buy a new spool. Ooh, wait, I need 43 rolls of material. Oh, wait, there's a new version of it now? Let's get that. Oh, we're going to upgrade to 32-bit controllers now. I'm going to do my own custom firmware. What the fuck am I doing?
I got enough trouble keeping up with the hobbies I have, let alone adding another one on top of that.
Yeah, I know. And the price of hookers and cocaine nowadays, it's not even.
I know. By next week, hookers will be, negative dollars again, like oil.
Or the other option is going to be mask on, mask off, or two different prices.
Well, yeah, you heard the 69. That's going away. It's not going to be the 96 because the price of going out to eat's going up.
Oh,
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Plummet. So it's coming. I'll be looking for the deals. I have some Amazon coupons, credit, whatever you call it. They give you that like 5% cash back or whatever. So I've got a balance sitting there. I'm just kind of waiting until the time is right, because honestly, right now I don't even have room in here to put one. So I got to work on some things. But I'm ready now.
I got to jump right into the meat and potatoes here. Have you guys been stimulating?
No.
None at all.
No. Wait, what are you talking about?
I think I've stimulated. I think I've stimulated in the last 2 weeks enough for all of us.
Good.
I've stimulated all aspects of the drone market, FPV, DJI. I've just been spending money like crazy, and I gotta admit, it's been fun.
Well, we had some other things to take care of, so I'll be honest, I don't even know if we've received ours or not, but I can tell you that when we do, as far as I'm concerned, it's got plans.
Did you hear the news? I posted it in chat today, but there wasn't a lot of activity today. I finally got a hold of a TBS Tango 2.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had to set up email notifications through Defiance RC. They emailed me last night as I'm trying to buy a Mavic Air battery 2, the Mavic Air 2 battery. As I'm trying to check out with that, boom, I get a notification. TBS Tango 2's in stock. I'm like, okay, pause, go over there, buy that, put it in the cart, because I know if I waited any longer, out of stock.
Yeah, I saw you had posted that you were purchasing it, but I'll be interested to see how you like it.
Yeah, it's actually shipped today. I'm supposed to have it within 10 days max. So I actually really do like Defiance RC so far. My experience with them and their shipping, they're really, everything I've got from them has been really speedy. So I can't complain so far.
Are they Canadian?
Eh?
That's a good question, Josh. I'm not even sure, but I figure they can't be too far because their shipping has been right on point.
Well, and it doesn't really matter. I'm only curious because I think I may have ordered one thing from them ever before.
Uh-huh. Well, I don't think they're as popular as, Get FPV, Pyro Flip, Pyro Drone, Race Day Quads, but they do keep in stock a lot of TBS products. So I was able to pick up, a nano receiver, Crossfire. They actually had them in stock there, where I feel like everywhere else they're out of stock. So they're kind of nice little hole in the wall place you can check. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Defiance RC is US based.
Okay, well that explains the fast shipping then.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, if you're looking for stuff and you can't find it, because I was talking to somebody on Discord and he was having issues finding the Crossfire receivers. I said, well, check Defiance out. They might have them because they try to keep, it looks like, some TBS stuff on hand. So
yeah, I haven't, honestly, all that money's still sitting in the bank account. Where is Chuck? That is a good question, Double A.
Well, we had to let Chuck go.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. Chuck's been running some odd load times, but he is also under the weather right now and is feeling ill, probably from one too many loads.
Yep.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, Chuck's feeling a little under the weather on top of a delivery, so
yeah. That sucks. I've been having fun messing with him. Every now and then I messaged him today, so I know he's alive at least. So that's. Is it bad that I've gone to the point of checking on friends, be like, hey, you still breathing? All right, cool. Just hit me up if you need something.
So I just talked to my dad down in Florida. He said as of Monday they've already started lifting restrictions down there. So hopefully we'll be seeing a trend up our way as well.
Yeah, I mean, Texas and a few other places are going to start doing it too. It's even if my company starts limited travel, I'm probably going to hold back a little bit just because of having my mother-in-law here.
Yeah.
But it'll get to a point where it'll, the work that I can do at a desk will start dwindling, and I'll just go back to normal.
Yeah, I've never wanted to go back to normal so bad in all my life.
Well, we actually have the opposite problem. We were asked because of some of the issues at plants and stuff. They sent us a kind of a flat out email going, "Hey, who's willing to come in and work at a plant?" And I was like, "Not me." Mostly because my wife with her medical problems, it's not worth it to me. I mean,
yep.
Great. I'm not, if it was just me, I'd probably put me off somewhere where I'm not even, I can get away from people. But the reality is it's not worth taking that crap home. So
I'm with you. And I'm really, what I'm doing is trying to bide time to see how far I can stretch it in the hopes that they can quickly turn around some sort of vaccination,
Yeah.
Because once that happens, as far as I'm concerned, that's back to normal for me.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to slowly
bring it home,
turn everything back on, and eventually it's going to be go out at your own risk. You know the risks. Do what you got to do to stay safe.
Yeah.
Well, the scary thing is, it's not the first time we've had an illness with this type of impact in the recorded world. Just 103 years ago or something was the flu epidemic. And there was a very similar initial curve as far as transmission, illness, death. Actually, I think it was a little worse, or COVID's a little worse off when it comes to death. But the flu was a little bit more contagious or something because it could actually spread through the air. It was airborne.
Correct.
But anyway, what they did, they showed cities like Philadelphia that said, well, no, we initially did a quarantine. People are going out of their minds. People need to get back to work. So we're going to lift the restrictions. And no sooner did everybody go back to work, they got a huge spike and they had to go back on like a travel ban. They had to kind of start quarantining at home again. So unfortunately, while everybody wants to be optimistic, I'm trying to, and I try to be one of those guys, but I'm also trying to be realistic in that if they push too much too fast, they're just going to shoot themselves in the foot. I'm
opposite. I'm rooting for the plague.
I'm the clean house.
There's a whole lot of stupid on it, like the dumb TikTokers that were licking toilet seats and all came up positive. Those motherfuckers need to exit stage right, because what the fuck, dude?
Look, I'm with you. Now, it was always a point of speculation, if we were to get traffic under control and, limit the amount of vehicles on the road and limit the amount of processing happening in plants and, their carbon footprint, it'd probably take a decade, 2 decades before you started noticing things. One of the things we've learned in all this is that you notice an immediate impact.
Yeah, Mother Nature's like, off, motherfuckers, don't care.
Yes. So it'll be interesting to see, because I don't think this is going to go away through the end of the year as far as being something that's always on our minds that, we have to be conscious about. And I'm curious how much of a lifestyle change it'll bring to parts of the world.
Agreed.
Yeah, things will never be the same. I mean, you're gonna constantly still have people riding around with plastic bottles, jugs on their faces, and stuff like that. It's always going to be remembered. All the silly stuff that people have done.
I'm more than happy to spend most of my life with my face buried inside of a titty cup as a face mask, but that's just me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Mr. ED, I saw that. Go ahead and put the link in here. We'll make sure everybody sees it. Anybody that can contribute, that's cool.
Oh, house fire, not cool. Been there.
Oh yeah, that sucks, man. Yeah, put it on in there. Maybe somebody can help donate. And thanks, was it Adam Plummet did a super chat earlier? We missed that when we were jibber jabbering.
Yeah, I kind of saw that. I just didn't address it, and I should have. Yeah, Plummet, with the 3D design, that's exactly what happened in regards to your response about, with me being home and having time. I was able to get enough work off my plate where I didn't have a problem sitting here a couple hours over a couple nights, and the design just finally clicked. And if I had a printer, yeah, absolutely. Honestly, while we're all stuck in this situation, you can sit around and do nothing with it, or you can take the opportunity to do things you wouldn't normally get to do. And that's me.
You mean like work at work? Nah, fuck that.
Well,
I've been doing that too.
I just saw with Night Train do a post somewhere where he actually 3D printed a whole like vice grip for his bench.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty freaking cool, man. I think Ray's done it too. I wouldn't mind having one of them just to be able to tighten down a part if you need to work on a specific part or the whole quad itself. But it looked really solid, man. I don't know if he did that with PLA or. Probably PLA, I would imagine.
You can do PLA, ABS. You can also do ABS, but it stinks.
Yeah, so. It had like gears and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's really impressive. Check out Night Train.
Yeah, he's on here, so he's probably going to come.
Yeah, that was really cool looking, man. I like that. It's amazing the things that can be done now that actually they work really well, and they seem to be a lot more robust than when the TP or the 3D printed parts first started coming out. Seemed like we've really come a long way as far as the quality of the material that's being used. It just seems like it's a lot better, getting better.
Yeah, ABS. And Night Train used 40% infill PLA. So,
well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and dive into where some of my stimulation has gone. So now, you guys are probably, a lot of guys probably don't do the whole camera bird thing, but let me just try to tune you in just a little bit. So, if you can add some of those dynamic shots with your camera drone and kind of incorporate that in with your FPV footage, you can really stand out and make your videos have that little bit of touch to where it's just like, whoa, wait a minute, was that an FPV drone or was that a GPS drone? I almost had a hard time telling. Sometimes you can really kind of add them in and just adds a whole other dynamic to your FPV videos. That being said, the Mavic Air 2, basically in a nutshell, you're getting a better camera, longer flight time, way better transmission signal for the same price that the original Mavic Air launched at. Which I'm just like, well, it seems like a no-brainer. Now, it is a little bit bigger, so you're getting a little bit more of a footprint. But for $799, you're basically getting almost over 10 minutes extra flight time. So you're in the air longer. Plus, you're getting a way better transmission signal. So you're not having to worry about the Wi-Fi lag.
Well, all right. So you just threw a whole bunch out there.
Yeah.
The first thing, as far as the Mavic Air 2 and its benefits, I don't think, until people get their hands on it, I don't think anybody's really going to know, and it's all just going to be speculation. And I say that because of the Skydio finagle that everybody saw earlier this year or late last year, where everybody wanted to get their hands on the brand new cool because of the marketing. And the first thing that happened was it flopped. So DJI has a better track record, though. They are definitely a company that has been able to pull things to market and to get them to work the way they say. But even then, how many people are really going to put that thing into a place to use those features? Because when you talk about being able to mix some of the different footage types to try to put together a cohesive edit, I've seen people just taking camera bird footage and putting it with FPV footage, if it's not well thought out to work together. I could do without it.
It's got to be done a certain kind of way to where it blends and it doesn't completely just look completely different.
The person
so you almost have to mimic your flying style while you're flying FPV to kind of more closely match that of what a GPS drone would do.
Was it Matty Stunts was great at doing that. I've seen some of his videos where he's flying through the woods and shit, and he's doing his FPV and his camera bird. His editing, I love everything he puts out. That I've seen that I love to watch, because it's like, fuck me, and he's probably most of the reason why when I see his stuff, I'm like, I want to get a camera bird, and then I'm like, no, I get too many hobbies.
See, and I honestly don't think I've seen many good examples of it. And Matty Stunts, I'm not a fan of his new style. After doing some of the things that Stunts has done before, I don't care to watch this cinematic stuff.
Well, I've seen a couple where he blends it well.
Okay. Now, Stinger Swarm has definitely done that a couple times, but you can tell he definitely put some time into trying to get the lines right, because what he was doing, and I can't tell you which order, but what he did was he flew some of the same lines with his Mavic as he did with his FPV drone. Now, obviously, there are speed differences, but getting that line and getting those angles and those trajectories matched up, he was able to blend that footage together. But most people, I've not, except from him, seen anybody take the time to do it.
Yeah, and I think it's more better based for a vlog style FPV video, where you can actually add it in to tell a story about where you're flying. Where are you having this FPV experience? That's kind of how you can kind of back away and get a broadside view of the building or the area that you're flying with the GPS drone. Then when you want to get down up in there, down close into the structures, that's when you transition in the FPV. And you can do some of the GPS stuff with that too, down close quarters. And that actually creates a really interesting dynamic, because you basically want to have the audience guessing, man, was that a GPS drone or was that an FPV drone? Like, I'm almost confused, because the transition in the lines, like you said, has to be lined up to where it's just seamless.
I would definitely love to see you work on that, but and it's not a but, like, I don't think you can do it. I think it's going to take a little work or a little time to kind of figure out the logistics and kind of pick up on what works best.
The editing is going to be your pain in the ass.
Yes, because you have to try to mimic the aspect ratio. Because, you know, the field of view on your GPS drone is going to be completely different than your GoPro. You have to kind of mirror them and have the aspect ratio be the same.
So you also,
because if it's not the same, you're going to know the difference when you switch.
You'll also have to get the same focal length lenses. Also, is a big thing. You have to match them up.
Yep.
And then, actually, honestly, with the amount of work I think it would take, you're probably better off to get a 7-inch and get a GPS module and slap it on top of it, and get a gimbal camera with the same everything, and just mount that to a 7-inch or like a something slightly larger. Like get one of the was it the Osmos, the DJI Osmos, or whatever it is, the little gimbal camera, and mount that to your FPV and just do a dual recording. And you know what I mean?
But see, I kind of like to take the camera drones and kind of incorporate the story of where you're actually flying that FPV experience. That's where I like to use those for. They can almost be almost like the reveal of where exactly is this adventure taking place, you know, and that's where you can use that B-roll and throw that together. And then when you're ready to go up in close and up tight, you throw that FPV in there, and I think you can really make it come together.
You could. I think that's going to be situational on location too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you have to have the environment to support that sort of thing too.
Uh-huh.
Do you think?
And if you really notice, if you watch, you know, TV shows, movies, you'll notice that most of the drone footage you see in those movies is very quick. It's very subtle. It may be 4 or 5 seconds at most, and then boom, they're off to the next transition. It's just helped to incorporate to add to the story to bring you to that location from a different angle. You don't see, you know, a 2-3 minute long drone footage on these movies and stuff like that when they tell these stories. It's very little bits. But when you add those bits together to help tell the story, then you throw the FPV and some B-roll in there, you can really, really add some dynamic shots and dynamic elements to your footage.
So, assuming that you're using analog footage for your VP, for your FPV footage, or you're all using all GoPro for both ends, is that what you're using?
Yeah, I use GoPro for the HD, and I'm still using rapid fire and analog VTXs.
So your best bet, because can you change the lensing on the 8s?
I don't think, no, I think they're stationary. They're fixed.
Okay, so I know that the older GoPros, you could actually change out the lensing.
Yeah.
So your problem is going to be your best, God, the easiest way, and I know that guys that do professional photography, what they do, or professional footage is, what they do is they match the focal lengths, and then regardless of whatever one is recording a higher resolution, they use post-processing to knock it down to the lowest resolution of the two cameras. And that way they look identical. But the reality is that the video that's captured off your higher resolution probably going to be your FPV, or I'm sorry, your camera bird camera is actually going to be the lowest resolution you use, and then you knock down the other one in post-processing to make it match. Otherwise, you're going to be chasing your ass all day long in post-processing.
Well, and that's where the topic of
the aspect of motion blurring too. You have to get that matched up too, because you're going to have different ND filters in play, and that's going to play a part in it too.
Yeah, but now if you're, I don't think that's going to come into play as much. I mean, yeah, here and there we've seen somebody mimic lines to get something in there slow and smooth and then transition to something more faster paced. But, what you said about using it to complement that stuff is not going to matter anyway. They're going to be two totally different types of shots.
Yeah.
And even then, is that something you're going to try to do every video? Because, right.
Hope you got editing time, because, man, you are going to be living behind your computer.
Well, it also turns into a bunch of the same thing. I mean, how many times have you seen people start to post things and it's the same thing over and over? Yes, the song is different, but the location's the same. There's no new tricks in it. There's no, and it's just the same. So even if your editing style is the same, it's going to lose that impact.
Yeah, you can't use it every time. Definitely not. And that's not the main reason that I upgraded. The main reason I upgraded was because I've had Part 107 jobs that I've actually been hired to do, and I was chasing my tail trying to get the shot I needed with the 18-minute flight time, and then not only that, but having all the lag and the Wi-Fi interference and my videos glitching and it's stopping. I'm like, man, I just need to get the stupid shot so I can get done. But I can't do it because now my battery's low and I've lost 5 minutes up here messing with this glitchy lag screen.
So, out of curiosity, are they just not doing local recording on the bird itself?
Oh yeah, that's fine. But how do you line that shot up when you're up in the air? You have to go off of the transmission that is sending to your phone or your device.
Yeah, I don't know about that end of it. I'm used to just the FPV, where what you see is generally what you're about going to get on your camera. And that's
so with the Wi-Fi, up close you have a pretty decent video signal, but the further you get away and the more interference you get, it starts to get laggy and blotchy, just like your DJI goggles, when you start to get interference. But it gets to the point where it'll freeze or you'll lose connection, and then you can't even see what you're doing or what kind of shot you have. And then you're just losing precious time, because like with the Mavic Air, I had a 18-minute flight time tops.
I think that's why a lot of guys will use, if they're doing any extended area, they'll use those waypoints. They'll just plot in a course and set their camera to the angle they think they're going to use, or maybe even do a few passes with different camera angles, because now you're not relying on that to do your flying.
Yeah. Well, the addition of the OcuSync 2.0 in the Mavic Air for the same price as the original Mavic Air launched with the Wi-Fi transmission, that right there had me sold just on the OcuSync alone. Because normally that's something you only get in the prosumer level type drones from DJI. So they brought that down a notch to the $799 price point. However, there is a trade-off. because they're now using OcuSync, which I think is a way better and more secure connection for transmission and of the video signal and the control link, there's no longer dual GPS. They've taken away the dual, or maybe it wasn't GPS. It was the dual. It uses, I'm trying to remember what the sensor is called, but it uses certain sensors to know where it is and where to come back. And on the original Mavic Air, it had 2 of those for redundancy. Well, now they've gone down to just having 1 of those.
Yeah, but don't you think they did that because it was proven to be that there was no value in the redundancy?
I think so. I think so because of the OcuSync. That's what I think.
So you think the OcuSync is that much of a game changer?
For that price point. Yes.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
See, I would never jump for a camera drone of the caliber of a Mavic, only because that Mavic Mini's out there, and for me, rule number 1 is portability. The smaller it is, the lighter it is, the more likely I am to use it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't carry multiple bags. I don't everything either fits in my bag, even my camera, the cameras that I use, my tripods, like everything fits in my bag or I don't bring it.
That was my selling point when I dated. I can whip it out, use it quick, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And there you go. So yeah, that's a good point. I mean, so what has paused you or what has prevented you from acquiring that Mavic Mini?
I just don't see myself using it that often.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I wouldn't use it periodically, but not enough to where I look at and go, that's what I want to spend $400 on.
Yeah. True. You have to justify the expense.
Now, how much was the original Mavic when it released?
I believe it was, I thought it was 1,000 or just over 1,000.
And how much is the Mavic 2?
So the Mavic Air 2 is $799 for the drone and the battery and the charger, not the Fly More.
Right. Yeah, because the Fly More gives you a couple extra batteries.
A different charger that charges multiple batteries. It gives you a carrying case. The Mavic Air 2 actually comes with ND filters from DJI, which I prefer Polar Pro myself, so that's why I didn't get the Fly More. Plus, with it having a over 30-minute flight time, I only need 2 batteries. I really don't need 3 for my personal use. With the Mavic Air, 3 batteries was plenty. I was always able to get everything I needed within 3 batteries. But that was only 18-minute flight time per battery. So that's about an hour of flight time. So I look at two of the Mavic Air 2 batteries, 30 minutes apiece. Well, there's my hour right there. So that was another reason I just decided just to get the drone itself. That way I can get the Polar Pro ND filters that I really want, which you can pre-order now for a cheaper price. They are the Vivid Collection, polarized, cinema grade quality. So it just alleviates a lot of extra post-editing stuff that you have to do because the colors are already there. You have the polarization to help with the glare from, whether it be off the water or your lighter surfaces. And just gives you way more dynamic range. So I tell you what, man, I love FPV. I'm always going to be an FPV addict, but I also love camera birds, man. I really do. I love the whole, the relaxation of just being able to take it out there and get the shot you need. And it's almost like just taking a nice little stroll. You don't really feel the adrenaline and the pumped up feeling that you get when you're flying FPV, balls to the wall, at these crazy high rates of speed and stuff like that, which I like that too. But it's nice to kind of mix it up every now and then and just kind of take that leisurely flight around your neighborhood and be like, wonder what's going on around here, and Just take a little flight and just kind of scout the area.
Well, Vampire's not in here. Otherwise, going to give him shit because I was going to say you could just rock your camera angle down to 0 like Vampire, but he's not here to defend himself, so that's not cool.
Yeah, I've gotten a little funny once in a while and like put a camera on the back, on the bottom, and different. Yeah, I mean, but I was just playing around. Like I wasn't trying to get anything in particular, and I guess that's the biggest thing is I just without having the exposure and never having that perceived value, I've really shied away from it. Just because there's always something else that has much more value to me and what's going on right now.
Absolutely.
But it seems like a good deal. I mean, if you can offload a couple things to offset your purchase and, you get this new one, they're coming in less than the old ones with more features, more battery time. So
that's exactly why I jumped at it. The Skydio 2, I was all in. Believe me, you knew I was. I was all in until I saw that the control link was Wi-Fi, and it just was not yielding very good results as far as range and image transmission. And why would they? This is a drone that's designed for people riding around on hoverboards to keep it close by to get that shot while they're not paying attention. This drone is really designed to go 2 miles out and get you, shots real far away.
Yeah, but it even failed at that. I mean, they put together the marketing materials suggesting that this thing had the unequivocal best obstacle avoidance and target tracking. And man, people took that thing out and it was wrapping itself up into trees and losing targets left and right. That thing can't keep track of itself. It can't get out of its own way.
So a buddy of mine, Drone Worship, had a very good, a theory. He had a very good theory about the Skydio 2 and why it went down the way it did. He thinks that the very select versions, the prototypes that were sent out to certain reviewers, actually had really, really good technology in it that was able to do that obstacle avoidance like they were advertising. But when they went to market, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same technology.
They probably blew the price point up and then tried to go with cheaper parts.
Yeah.
Not that uncommon.
Different technology that they may have even used from the first generation, threw it in a new body, and boom, now you got the Skydio 2 and they've lowered the price. So
someone, Edge FPV asked, you talking for LUA? I don't know.
I think it was in reference to this, Joe. Mr. ED said, anyone else know about Immersion RC's new radio protocol? Honestly, I have no idea what he's talking about, unless he's talking about the Lapper system.
Yeah, I was confused by that.
Yeah, because if it's the lap trackers, none of us would use that. Otherwise, I don't think there is a new protocol, because if you're talking about like video transmission and all, they'd be shooting themselves in the foot because now it doesn't play nice with everything else. So
yeah, that's a catch-22 for sure. You can have a great new tech out, but if it doesn't meet with the market standard, you're pissing up the wind, unless you're DJI and you can sell it as a complete package.
Exactly.
It's true. I mean, that's how they market their stuff. You buy our drones, you buy our controller, you buy our headset. It all works together.
Lewis scripts for video control. I don't know. I know that Immersion RC recently put out a new version of their Tramp, the Tramp 2. It is way smaller than the one. It has higher output power than the Tramp 1. I mean, that and it comes in at the same price point, $30. I just cannot see spending $50, $60 on a VTX if I can get similar, comparable performance out of something for half the price.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I will not spend that much for a VTX. That's why I like the Rush tanks.
So are they like up? They said they're up in their wattage and decreasing their size.
Yeah, so the electronics, and if you even compare the boards, I mean, you can see where I guess they've found some integrated circuitry that is able to wrap up multiple components. So they're reducing their overall SMD footprint. they've actually increased their filtering and increased the voltage input, because we're talking high voltage units, that'll take battery voltage.
Yeah. Well, every time they talk about, oh, I'm going to make this so much smaller and up the wattage, my immediate concern is overheating on landing. Yeah, I've seen some. You touch them, they'll burn the shit out of you.
Well, that's one of the reasons.
Again,
I said not only that, but what about durability too? I mean,
sure,
that's important.
Well, usually you're going to get better durability out of a smaller package because you're going to be able to protect it better. It won't have as much mass to be thrown around. At least that's been my experience. Now, this board comes with a 20 by 20 soft mounted board that you can solder to. It doesn't come soldered to it, but it's there. It comes in the package if you want to use it. And then you can stack mount it. You can stack mount it on a 30 by 30. You could leave it by itself, standalone, like a lot of people do with the current VTXs anyway. So they leave it up to you. And, when I talk about these price points, I'm talking about TBS.
Right.
TBS has got this big, play on Crossfire, playing with Unify, doing reading the 2D barcodes and all this stuff. And honestly, and how many versions of their protocol for using the scripts and all that other stuff do they have floating around? You and Chris have seen the havoc that can play on the protocol differences, trying to use OSD to change your power output and your channels and stuff. With the Tramp, they haven't changed the protocol. What they have works. So it's, what's already there is going to keep driving their future products. They're not trying to make it play with all this other stuff, so they're keeping it simple. And one of the things Tramp has always had, along with TBS, is the overheat prevention. So, there is a thermistor in there, or
thermostat?
What? Not thermostat. It's solid state thermistor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But it's got a thermistor. It monitors its power or its temperature, and if it finds that it's getting above its comfortable limit, it powers down.
I think the word you're looking for is thermos.
That's only good for my coffee.
I agree. You also got to remember that the heat saturation becomes more of an issue with smaller boards, though. And number one, can you get air to them to cool? Because the reality is, and you all know it, the second you make something super small, you're going to tuck that bitch somewhere where there's no airflow. And then you go to fire in the hole. Anyway, but then what ends up happening is you end up, coming into, you ditch it in a field somewhere, and you either can't switch it to pit mode or it eats itself. So the addition of the thermistor plus, there's got to be some safeties in there for sure when they start doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I agree with you wholly as far as the concerns go, but as a company, their track record is second to none. IRC was one of the first companies to have all of the official racing organizations say that they are one of the acceptable standards. And they would turn away people flying AKKs or these Eachine boards and all this other stuff because you had to have a compliant, approved VTX. And so to your point about before there's airflow over it, a lot of these VTXs are also coming with pit mode now of some sort. Yeah.
Auto pit, and when you fire them up, they go to full transmission. Yeah, which is awesome because
the flight controllers have that. And now if the VTX itself has some sort of play in it, it's just TBS. See, Mike, I don't know if I agree. I mean, does something that can be as simple and have all the features that we need as a VTX, does it really warrant all the fancy firmwares and all the other stuff? I don't know.
It almost seems like TBS is definitely making their own ecosystem, because it seems like with every firmware update, I'm getting more and more notifications about more people having issues with binding to receivers using different protocol radios. That seems to be the direction it looks like they're going, where they're trying to make it more difficult to be compatible with other brands. And they're trying to create a brand that's going to be almost like a neural network where it's going to be the easiest to just control with everything being the same brand.
Well, any manufacturer wants that.
Oh, absolutely. They want to dominate in the market.
Well, it's not like that. It's the same. They're trying to follow the what I call the Mac mentality. If I can get you to buy my phone or buy you my laptop, and then all of a sudden I tell you that everything on your laptop works on your phone, you're more likely to buy my phone. Now I go, oh, now I got a Mac Mini, and now you can watch TV or Mac or Apple TV. Now you can watch that off that, and it's all the same thing. People glom to that mentality nowadays of I will put all my eggs in one basket because I'm sold on the idea that it's either more secure or more whatever. I mean, that's
more better.
Well, ever since I switched to Crossfire, I got to admit the setup seems to be a lot easier, not just for binding, but for telemetry as well. It's almost like it's just they take so many of the steps out of setting up your telemetry with Crossfire with the two-way communication. And it's way easier and quicker to set up telemetry using Crossfire.
Yeah.
Which not everybody uses telemetry, but I do, and I do like it. And now with the TBS Tango 2 hitting that smaller form factor, for me, I was like, well, you know what? Most of my receivers are Crossfire anyway. What would it be to switch out a couple micros and throw a Crossfire Nano in there? I mean, hell, they're small enough. Really, the only reason I would need my FR Sky radio is just for like the real tiny stuff, like your little 65 millimeter whoops.
Well, you've talked about a few different things all at the same time here. Now, when you talk about Crossfire and VTX in the same breath, like that's where I start asking those questions. Okay, it's neat that it has this ecosystem, but is it truly practical? And I don't mean can you make it work or is it easy to make it work? I mean, is it something you're actually going to use? Because let's face it, Betaflight, free firmware, right? You can get flight controllers out there for $30 or less that have OSD that can change my channels, change my power output, do everything I need to do. And none of that applies to the control link because it does all of its own negotiation and spread spectrum analysis to figure out where it needs to. It does all that itself. And it works on a limited number of channels per band. It's just not, or the VTXs do. They're just not even the same thing. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm asking, but is there value in the ecosystem? Because as somebody who can already do everything he needs to do through his goggles, what are you selling me?
Well, they would definitely have to add something, an additional feature or something to entice you to want to come over to that ecosystem. And for a lot of people, it was the form factor and the cost of the Tango 2, the controller. Because you look at FR Sky, they tried that route. They tried to make a smaller form-fitting controller that was going to appeal to more of the gaming style types of users who would want to use that style of controller. And it just didn't work out because the gimbals weren't even full size. The controller itself, I heard, had a lot of issues with modules and accepting all the different types of firmwares, and it just didn't seem like it was a smooth transition. So I'm hoping the Tango 2 is going to be a little bit smoother transitioning as far as working with the firmware and getting it all set up with your new models and having those full-size gimbals, but a smaller form factor for thumbers. Because that's. But
at the end of the day, you're talking a transmitter, Eric. All it needs is some sticks and some switches. I mean, this is not some overly, but by today's standards, some overly complex piece of equipment that needs to be figured out. This is something you should be able to turn on, bind to, and go. And again, where we started with this was talking about the VTXs communicating with the Crossfire receivers. Right. I don't know where we're going.
Where I'm going, all right, follow me down the rabbit hole. Where I'm going is, if they can get you to buy the transmitter, okay, if they can get you to buy the transmitter and their receivers, okay, they've already got you sold on those components. Now, would it be that much harder to say, now we've got a VTX out that can have this extra function that you can't already do in OSD or something like that, and say, but you need this controller in order to make it do that?
I see where you're going. I guess, you know, it's one thing to sit there and speculate that someday some magic might happen that brings some more value to your big picture, but I can't imagine what that is.
I can't either, but I just know that they're going to do something to entice you to want to go over and keep in that ecosystem. And it may even be digital. It may even be the digital switch. They may even have something where, boom, now they've released their version of the digital system and it's compatible with their controller, with the stuff they already got going on.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, more than anything, what they're doing is they're selling a name and they're giving options. You know, years ago when that Evolution or Turnigy Evolution came out, and I had one of those. You know, it was a $60 transmitter. You didn't have an external antenna. It had a touch screen, which at the time, very few other things had touch screens, let alone transmitters in that price range. And it was game for thumbers. I mean, I know people are going to make the argument, well, you can pinch that style and, you know, you can use thumbs with yes, but ideally, if you've ever used it, it's not comfortable to pinch something like that. All they're trying to do, very similar to the Tango One, is provide a reasonable solution for a certain market.
Right.
Because they're not trying to meet everybody's needs. And it's an evolution of the Tango One. What they found out was that nobody was using that built-in screen, or very few people, so they removed, you know, the VTX screen, that they sized it down, and they incorporated the Crossfire transmitter into it as standard, which I think was a huge smart move, because like you said, especially people that are on the Crossfire system, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. If you've already invested in their receivers, why not spend a little bit extra and just go ahead and get the transmitter? And now you've got a smaller form factor. Because let's face it, I mean, it's half the size of the QX7.
So here's my concern with this whole thing is that they're almost playing the reverse game of FR Sky. So FR Sky started modding or changing their product to not fit Crossfire as well in order to sell their own product.
Yep.
When you lose that cross-platform capability, so for example, I run my X10, my FR Sky X10S, and the reason I like it is because I have some older drones that I let my wife fly and other people fly that are running on the FR Sky protocol. But I also have the full-size Crossfire in the back of it. So I can run multiple classes of drone without an issue, or I can go FPV. I have a couple 6 hexcopters. I have the giant one. I can run all those off of that same transmitter. Now, the problem is that unless you're already sold into Crossfire, they're doing the opposite routine. They've sold you on the Nano. They've sold you on Crossfire before, the different protocol. Now they're solidifying their ownership of your fleet by selling you a Tango, which is not capable of doing any other protocol. The FR Sky, I can throw in a Futaba module. I can throw in, so if I have planes, I have what, and there are some protocols that are better for different things. So they're taking the opposite route. They're doing the, okay, I've already sold you on the transmitter. I'm sorry, the receiver and the Crossfire. Now I'm going to sell you on the transmitter. So I worry that they're going to do the same thing to themselves. They're going to either limit themselves into a very particular group that's willing to spend the money or willing to go the Crossfire route, but not the other way around. So mind you, they've got their Nanos, which are super small and things like that, which fit 90% of the protocols, but they are limiting themselves. They are putting themselves in the, you're going to buy our stuff or you're going to pack sand. Hopefully they don't stop producing their modules for the Crossfire. You mean their full-size modules to plug into the back of everybody?
Oh, wouldn't that be something?
I see that coming.
Yeah, that could definitely be coming, and that's kind of where I'm at, because I got a Tango 2 coming with Crossfire built in.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I even need my micro module at this point? I could keep my QX7 for the FR Sky protocol to control any FR Sky type drones that may be coming along, or add another module for another protocol if need be. But why would I even need to keep my micro TX if I got a transmitter coming with Crossfire built in? I really don't.
Agree, but like even Night Train saying he's got stuff that's got FR Sky built in. I've got drones that have FR Sky. You know, unless you're willing, this comes down to the how many people are willing. You know, you, me, Josh, have multiple drones. Unless you get somebody who comes in, is on Crossfire, and every single thing they've built is Crossfire, and they're absolutely confident that they're never going to step away from Crossfire. I tell you what, you know, I've got stuff Crossfire, I got stuff FR Sky. If another protocol came out, I would probably build 1 or 2 new drones to try that. But I'm sure as shit not going to buy 20 of them to go through and replace my fleet because I decided to buy a single transmitter that can only do one protocol.
That would explain when FR Sky made the change and did that whole new protocol. What do they call it?
LR9 or whatever it is.
Access.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Access. That would explain, because as soon as that came out, you saw immediate problems with using any other kind of protocols with their radio system with that particular firmware on it. And they even put on there that, you know, this particular firmware will only work with this particular components as far as the radios go.
Yeah, I agree with Night Train. I mean, there's still issues. I know for FR Sky in particular, people are having to do the solder board where they modify it to make it work fully with the Crossfire if you're going with micro transmitters. And that's the reason why I went with the full size transmitter, because I saw the writing on the wall that they were playing that game and was like, no, I'm going to pay for the full module. That way I know it works 100% and I don't have to mod my transmitter. You know, so like I said, I worry TBS is moving that same route where they're going to do the opposite and eventually stop producing the modules and go, you want to use our receivers? You're going to have to use our transmitter.
I think we're already maybe possibly even seeing that, because I've actually had people who are looking to buy modules and they can't find them anywhere. Like they're not even restocking right now. And I don't know if that's just because of the whole COVID thing, or if there's a little bit more behind that.
This is not the first time. I mean, this is just supply chain. You know, they'll put an order in for a couple hundred / couple thousand units, and they get those in. They send them out to their retailers. Their retailers eventually sell them, but they don't put in another order until they're getting enough POs. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think you're still going to see more. You may not see the micros anymore.
Yeah.
I could see them doing away with the micros, because now that they have like what do they call it, their full light version, and then they have their full size, full featured version, and now they're talking about finally incorporating some of the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth functionality that's been hiding under the hood for a while. I don't even know what they would do with that, but.
So my understanding, I tried to do a little bit of reading up on that, and if I remember correctly, digging it out of weeks of intensive work. Brain suckage is the Bluetooth was supposed to be able to do. There's supposed to be basically a Bluetooth tie into your phone. So if you wanted to use GPS stuff, and it would actually your transmitter would actually GPS back to your phone to overlay on the maps, so that you could actually do a live telemetry on GPS, like a Google Maps, of exactly where it is. So,
which they're probably going to be trying to add in live streaming as well for like live flights.
Well, they're not going to be streaming video. I know that, but there was a guy who had done some pretty ingenious hacking to turn on his Bluetooth module and then be able to upload, basically use a GPS nav tracker, and he was using it for wings. He was doing long distance wing flying. And he was able to use that to do return to home stuff. It was actually pretty freaking cool.
Sounds like it.
It was badass, because basically all the telemetry is doing is receiving the GPS coordinates and then overlaying it right on your phone. And it was giving him heading and current location. I was like, fuck, that's awesome.
Well, yeah, that'll help with flyaways and knowing if you had emergency landing or crash, helping you recover it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I want them to turn that crap on, because I've hunted for one too many drones out in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I'm still using my lost model buzzer, man. I'm not giving up on them. I'm still putting one in every build.
Yeah, next time we're in a truck and that bitch goes off while we're driving away from the side, I'm gonna throw that bastard out the goddamn window. Beep, 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 beep.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, they are annoying, but as much as they are annoying, when you eject the battery, you're so glad you had it.
Yeah. Premature ejaculation. I mean, yeah, you know what I mean.
Exactly. Well, whatever TBS is doing, it seems to be working because the transmitters were selling like hotcakes. I mean, they were sold out everywhere. So whatever they're
The
doing,
receivers always do. Their transmitters always do. And
Yep.
I mean, my only point was that they're not trying, like Crossfire, that was kind of a market changer. Yes, there are other long-range solutions, but none of them had the ease of use or, the reliability or, even the US-based customer support, Like, so when you look at what you're buying, you're getting a lot for your money. But with these other offerings, they're not trying to change the market and get everybody to buy. They're just doing a part of it, and that's fine.
Yeah, because I mean, you pay a little bit more of a premium, but really, is $199 really that bad for a transmitter that already has Crossfire built in with Hall effect gimbals?
Oh, the whole no, not at all.
I don't think that's a bad price at all. I mean, they could easily launch that at $250 easily.
Right. Well, if you look, I mean, when a lot of people bought their X7s or their transmitters, in fact, let's just talk FR Sky. When a lot of people bought them, they were getting them for $150, $200 because, let's face it, they're last year's technology, right? Then they spent another, $60 on a set of Hall effect gimbals. Then they spent anywhere between $150 to $250 to get their Crossfire set up and running. So when you look, I mean, no, it's not.
So out of curiosity, I don't know, I didn't look into this, but the Tango 2, what are they using for their, are they using OpenTX?
It's a, what do you call it? I can't think of the word right now. It's a bridge off of that.
Lesbian?
Yeah, it's a bridge. It's a bridge, a fork. It's a fork. Okay. It's a fork off of OpenTX, which evidently it's very super easy to set up, very simple and very familiar. It almost operates just like OpenTX, but it's just a different fork, I guess.
So this is where I find this to be funny because what you basically got is you've got a vendor who has taken an open source resource, forked it off to a thing, and then now they're selling it as their own flavor to so they've taken away all the research out of it, so that's why they're able to offer a cheaper solution, whereas FR Sky had their own protocol, but they did have the OpenTX units that you could reflash to OpenTX. They made it available, which is why FR Sky was so popular as a transmitter, because all of a sudden it was like, hey, I don't have to go the route of Futaba and use their defined protocol, and I am stuck with what they said I'm going to do. And now you're able to modify it. So once again, here's my concern with that again, is that now they've gone into forked an open source resource. So is it now open source anymore?
It's only supposed to be a temporary fork because OpenTX controls, how do I say this? They essentially provide their own quality control. Mm-hmm. And so you cannot get new hardware into it just like that.
Correct.
And so Freedom TX is, I think, what they're calling it.
Yeah.
And it's only supposed to be a stipend until OpenTX fully supports the Tango 2 hardware.
Okay. That was a concern of mine, because once you start getting that specialty forked editions, and if they have no intention of going back, that immediately throws up warning signs to me that they're gonna specialize themselves, and now they will be a specialty product. It won't be something that you can have any control over, or they can yank the control at any point. You have no capability.
Or all of a sudden it's got nothing but a heap of bugs and want to be features and open holes, and nobody's developing it anymore.
Yeah,
exactly.
Helios Spring, anybody? Butterfly?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that the support for it seems to be really impressive. I mean, you go to the website and they've got, I don't know, a 30, 40-page PDF on anything you could ever possibly want to know about that transmitter, how to set anything up. I mean, you got a question, the answers are all there. In plain out English, pictures, color. I mean, they couldn't make it any easier if they set it up for you.
So here's and that's awesome. I mean, I think that's great, but I've seen enough manufacturers that have a change in management structure that goes from that to not that.
Yes.
Simultaneously. Once it moves away from the open source, where the open source community keeps it alive, once it goes to that fork or that specialty, all of the changes is a change in CEO in a company, and all of that can be gone instantly.
All of a sudden, it was the bastard project.
You got it.
I'm hoping, like Josh had suggested, that they are going to go to OpenTX and the newer update and be supporting the Tango 2 with the OpenTX.
Yeah,
that would be the best case scenario, honestly.
They will. I mean, they addressed early on that they would be stupid not to use OpenTX as, their firmware. It's what the industry for this side of the hardware has decided that it's going to use. And honestly, OpenTX has a lot of clout and a lot of reliability, much like Betaflight. Mm-hmm. People will sit there and knock it because it's free, but they've got a consistent team of developers who oversee quality control and features and product lifecycle management, who don't turn out garbage. So you put those three things together.
Yeah, and it just works. I've all my switches have always done what they're supposed to do once I've assigned them, and I don't think I've ever even had a glitch on any of my switches not working or anything on the software side of it.
So going back to the old days of being, I used to have Futaba controllers. I loved Futaba. I did airplanes on Futaba. I did helicopters on Futaba, and I loved their stuff because it was rock solid. But at the same time, you did not see features move forward. It was, this is ours. We're very, I consider it, to borrow a phrase from a good friend of mine, it's the old white man mentality. It works. I sold it to you. Use it how I want you to use it. And if you got a problem with that, fuck off. And, that's the advantage of the OpenTX side of the things, honestly.
So I wonder if there's a benefit to having a Futaba, transmitter, with everything that comes with it, because there was a time where you did have some alternatives, but they lacked the reliability. And also, even though you didn't see, new features and bug fixes and things necessarily coming quickly, it was one of the more reliable systems out there. And they had some of the best hardware, which is why a transmitter, especially when you're flying, a $6,000 plane or helicopter that took you months to build.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, this couple $100 on a transmitter is not so bad.
So also think about this. Back in those days, most of the stuff was PWM. So even the control stuff, they actually did of course, not only did their transmitters, they did the receivers, but they even did their own servo motors. So it was a all-inclusive environment.
Yeah.
Once S-Bus came out, and they started using the S-Bus protocol, which is available to everyone, that's when Futaba started to slip, because now all of a sudden I didn't have to buy their receiver. I didn't have to buy their servers or servos. I could buy anybody's servo that was S-Bus compatible.
Mm-hmm.
And then once
that makes sense. And it almost seems like, would the Futabas just decide right then and there that maybe we just need to stick with the fixed wing type aircraft in this particular aviation part of the hobby, and maybe we don't even need to really dive into the FPV quadcopter drone side of things, and maybe that's where TBS is trying to say, okay, well, maybe we can be the Futaba of the drone market, like Futaba is with the fixed wing market.
Could be, but also you got to think big companies move slow. You get a guy, let's say, for example, you get a guy that his entire life he's done fixed wing. That is his bread and butter. He knows what you want before you know it. because he's done it.
Yep.
Now, I asked to use his tool to do something else. He's not interested in doing that. It's not his thing. He's not going to invest the time. He's not going to invest the development. And there you go. Death of an industry, or death of a company. Not saying that Futaba dead. I'm just saying that they didn't adapt quick enough to capture market share.
Well, I mean, you got to figure though, there is still a market, with the roto helis, the 3D helicopters, all your fixed wing aircraft, your jets, and all that. So I mean, they still have a market. It's just I don't think they wanted to. It doesn't seem like they went after the FPV drone market at all.
No, but honestly, this market is super competitive. I mean, you're talking about a market full of people that are that don't like to spend money, which is not the same as the old school plane guys. And the shit that we do to our stuff, we don't expect it to have this super long lifespan. Like, this is not the market for them.
Right. We're gonna break it. It's just what we do, And being from the helicopter end of it, the 3D copter guys, they're gonna break shit too, but you're not breaking shit at the frequency we are because you got to pay for it. The big plane guys, because I hang out with guys that did the giant scale, freaking World War II reenactment, bomb bay doors. I mean, those guys would rip your head off if you touched their plane. Never mind. They would never. They won't let you touch it. Never mind. Hey, here, want to see it? Here you go. Hold it.
Right here. Try my drone.
Yeah. Which, by the way, will get you out of tickets. I have used it repeatedly. If you get pulled over and you have drones in your car, put them in your seat right next to you on the console. And the cop will be like, "Hey, what's that?" I'll be like, "Oh, it's a drone. We I race them. We make them." "Oh yeah, really?" I'm like, "Here, want to hold it?" And I just shove it out the window at them, and they're like,
"What, this?
Oh, this? Yeah.
This. I got you."
Exactly. And I've had little cops like, "Oh, that's awesome." They start talking about it, and they're like, "Be right back." And they go, "Oh, here's your warning. Have a nice day." I mean.
Oh, absolutely. How many times have we thought we were going to get kicked out of a place? Security rolls up. We show them what we're doing. Put the goggles on. Say, "Here, take a look." And by the end of the conversation, you guys can come back whenever you want. And you know what? Next time you come, maybe I'll get up there and try it.
I need a mod for QX7 for Crossfire. You talking about the board, Sidewinder? The little mod board?
Oh, you know what? I don't know if let me try to link in my my video. You talking about the QX7 mod for Crossfire Micro?
I think it's the same little board, solder on board, right? Because if that's it, I think I have one.
It's supposed to come with it. Mine came with the Micro TX.
If they still ship them.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Well, you have some of those, so if you need one, let me know.
Yeah, I may have one too. I'll have to look. It's probably buried in my toolbox.
Mine are in my toolbox, but I saw them when I was reorganizing.
Okay.
Yeah, you used to be able to go to the TBS website and order the board, just the board itself, but maybe they've canceled that.
Yeah.
Well, and when I bought them, I bought the little chips themselves, and then I bought a mounting board that gives you more comfortable solder points. So all you would need to do, and honestly, I've put 2 of them on there, so they're already on the boards.
All right, guys, it's because Josh solders like Helen Keller.
Well, yeah.
The solder tip is about the size of that dildo is old.
Just hold still. Get some more blue tack. All right, Sidewinder, we'll hook you up.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys. Well, it is time to pull the plug on this. It has been awesome having you guys on tonight.
Oh yeah, I'm glad I could come on, Josh. I'm glad to see Joe, and I'm glad you guys are all doing well during this pandemic.
Oh, one other thing. I have a tip for everyone who's left online. If you are out and you want people to leave you the fuck alone and just get away from you, this is all you gotta do. They will. They will.
You'll clear out a whole business.
Scatter like roaches when the light comes on.
Fucking, they will. Works.
Absolutely.
I had some dude sitting at the cash register over here at the shortstop. Wouldn't get the fuck out of the way. I'm like, all right, it's on. Started coughing. Fucking people just boom. And like, I was doing exactly that. And the guy was like, he left. And then the second he walked away, I was like, okay, do you guys have any more of the like, I'm like, yeah, I just wanted him to leave.
Yeah. Did you see the it was either a GIF or a picture of the guy holding a sign up outside the plane window? It says, "You sneezed. I was your pilot. Have a nice flight."
Yeah, right, exactly.
See you later.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
Have a great night, man. Hopefully more meetups to come soon.
Definitely. Nice seeing you.
Oh, yeah.
Later.
Later, guys.
Later.
Where's the button?
Is it going to end?
Never.
I know.
Later.
I'm waiting. I don't know what's happening.